Maria, you experienced something incredible in 2025. What happened? On March 20th, I had a pulmonary embolism and was clinically dead for 33 minutes and 27 seconds. During that time, Jesus led me to a spiritual realm and revealed the incredible power of prayer to me. Incredible? How so? I saw how a single prayer, even brief or simple, can tear down demonic strongholds. Demons tremble just at the mention of Jesus' name. They try to distract us because they know how much our prayers weaken them. This changes everything. Stay until the end to hear Maria's full testimony. Trust me, your life will never be the same. My name is Maria Elizabeth Santos. I've been in a testimony of a near-death experience, and what Jesus showed me about the power of prayer. I saw how a single prayer can destroy spiritual strongholds, and why the enemy does everything to stop us from praying. It all began on March 20th, 25, at the Green Mountains Hospital here in Curitiba. It was an apparently normal day, with below-zero temperatures and a fresh layer of frost covering the streets. I had just finished the last class for the breakfast. As I walked down the hallway, the fluorescent lights began to flicker strangely, and an intense pressure compressed my chest. Later, I found out I was suffering from a pulmonary embolism. A clot had traveled to my lungs. I fainted right in front of room 204. My colleague, teacher Ana Clara, found me and called emergency services while trying to revive me. The last thing I remember before everything changed was the cold school floor, and the next I entered a place I can't describe with human words. It wasn't the tunnel of light that many report in near-death experiences. It was more like entering another dimension, where time and space didn't exist as we know them. The first detail I noticed was the total absence of pain. That unbearable pressure in my chest had disappeared, replaced by a profound peace I had never felt before. The environment of understanding. Then I heard his voice. Jesus spoke my name, just Maria. But in that single word, there was as much power as tenderness. In that instant, I understood more about who he is than in all the years of catechism and Bible studies. His presence was overwhelming, yet intimate. He didn't appear as in traditional paintings. His glory went far beyond what any artist could capture. It was as if he was both physical and spiritual, radiating a light that penetrated. What you will witness today will change not only your life, but also the lives of many others who will hear your testimony. Suddenly, I began to observe scenes from my own life, but from a spiritual perspective that left me astonished. I saw moments when I prayed, from the childhood prayers before bed to the desperate pleas, areas of my life, but something extraordinary happened when I called on the name of Jesus in prayer. It was as if an earthquake shook the spiritual world. The strongholds began to crack and crumble. I watched in awe as my simple prayers, those I sometimes thought no one heard, wreaked devastating havoc on the enemy's plans. Jesus showed me how these demons worked tirelessly to distract me. They amplified my fatigue. Meditation, they even used my phone, sending urgent messages from parents or colleagues, just when I sought connection with God. Watch closely, Jesus instructed. He showed me a specific night when, despite the fatigue and distractions, I insisted on praying in the spiritual realm. That prayer had the impact of 1,000 hammer blows, completely destroying the carefully planned strategies of the enemy. João undid months of subtle attempts to create distance between us. Jesus also revealed something that made me cry. He showed moments when I succumbed to distractions and failed to pray, but instead of condemnation, I saw his patient love. He waited like a teacher who knows the student will eventually understand the lesson. His love never diminished, only waited until I returned. Maria. Sort of light, each word was a precise strike against the enemy's fortifications. The demons fled in panic, not because of my words, but because of the name and authority of Jesus that I invoked through prayer. I saw how they called emergency meetings, desperate to create new strategies because their old traps had been annihilated by my persistent prayers. The demons feared one thing more than anything else: a believer who understood the true power of prayer and refused to be distracted from it. Do you understand now, Jesus? Praying? A single prayer made in faith causes more damage to the kingdom of darkness than 1,000 other spiritual activities. Jesus showed me how different types of demons had specific functions. They were responsible for creating distractions just before the moment of prayer. Others tried to leave us physically and mentally exhausted. There were even demons specialized in creating false urgency. Consistent prayer life, these angels, strengthened by our prayers, were ready to execute God's will and protect His children. I saw spiritual battles happening around people on the streets of Curitiba, completely unaware of the war being waged over their souls. The Lord took me even deeper, showing the ripple effects of prayers over time. I saw how my mother's prayers made years ago were still active, destroying the enemy strongholds in my lives of my demise. Pointing to a specific scene, I saw myself making a quick prayer while preparing my classroom before the students arrived. Even that hurried prayer, made with sincerity, had wreaked havoc on the enemy's plans. It's not the length of the prayer that matters, but the faith and sincerity behind it. He showed me how the enemy tried to convince me that if I couldn't pray for an hour, it wasn't worth praying. This lie often tapped me from prayer. Vision changed, and I observed the demons gathering to plan their strategies. Their conversations were revealing. "She's starting to understand prayer," hissed one demon to another. "We need to increase our efforts to keep her distracted with school responsibilities. The prayers are too destructive," complained the other. "Every time she mentions the blood of Jesus, another stronghold falls." I saw how they celebrated when renewed commitment. Jesus then showed me something that broke my heart. I saw countless believers, many of them fellow teachers and parents of my students, who had powerful prayer assignments from God, but had been deceived by the enemy, making them believe their prayers didn't matter. I observed faith sets in motion forces that the enemy cannot withstand. I saw how the demons trembled when believers prayed the scriptures, how they fled at the sound of Jesus' name, and how they scattered in panic before prayers of gratitude and worship. I witnessed how my own prayers often acted as spiritual dynamite, destroying in seconds what the enemy had spent months building. The demons had no defense against prayers aligned with God in faith. João, who suffered from severe anxiety in the spiritual realm, I saw how that prayer destroyed several demonic strongholds of fear and worry carefully built around him. The Lord showed me how the enemy tried to convince me that my prayers weren't working because João still showed signs of anxiety. But in the spiritual realm, those prayers were causing enormous damage to the enemy's plans, creating breaches that would become visible in due time. I also saw how prayers of forgiveness were particularly evading. Spoken ill of me to the principal, entire networks of demonic fortifications collapsed instantly. The demons relied on my resentment to maintain their positions, and my prayer of forgiveness ruined their plans. Jesus then revealed something that left me in awe: how prayers transcend generations. I saw my prayers join those of my mother and grandmother, creating a powerful spiritual legacy that against family prayer, explained Jesus. He knows that when families pray together, His power to divide and destroy is severely limited. I saw scenes where my family had prayed together, even briefly before meals or before bed. Each of these prayers strengthened the spiritual protection around our home and relationships. The Lord also showed me how collective prayer in schools and churches created another scene, what happens when prayer diminishes in a community. I saw how the reduction of prayer allowed demons to establish small footholds, which gradually grew into strongholds over time. He showed me how the demons worked to create programs and activities in churches and schools that, although good in themselves, slowly took time away from prayer. The enemy's strategy was subtle. Replace with subtle prayer with good things that were pray for a student or colleague. But I ignored that call. In the spiritual realm, these absences were like missing links in a chain of protection and blessings. The enemy fears the prayer that is about to be made, explained Jesus. That's why he works so hard to prevent it. I witnessed how the demons called emergency meetings when they realized a believer was about to discover the true power of. When I consistently ignored his calls, His patience was infinite, His love unchanging. He showed me how He orchestrated circumstances to bring me back to prayer, always inviting, never forcing. Remember, He said, prayer is not about perfect words or long sessions. It's about relationship. Every prayer is heard. Every prayer is heard. Prayer matters. Every prayer destroys part of the enemy's work. As mighty task. Prayers throughout the school day created constant disruptions in demonic activities. The enemy couldn't maintain any stronghold in my life because of consistent prayer. Tell them Jesus instructed me. Tell my children about the power of prayer. Tell them no prayer is too small, no heart too weak, no faith too little. Tell them I wait to hear their voice, that every prayer is a blow against the kingdom of darkness. With the C's words off myself the hospital, called untold back into my physical. Nurses working frantically later, I learned that I had been clinically dead for exactly 33 minutes and 27 seconds. The medical team was about to declare my death when my heart inexplicably started beating again. They called my recovery miraculous. The pulmonary embolism should have caused permanent damage. But all my tests came back normal, surprisingly. There were no signs of brain damage, despite the long period without oxygen. That night I lay in the hospital. Certainty of what was happening there. Every time I whispered, Jesus knew demons' silence. I knew strongholds were crumbling. This experience changed everything for me. The experience itself. But to convey a crucial truth, your prayers are more powerful than you imagine. The enemy trembles when you pray. A single sincere prayer can destroy thousands of demonic strongholds. That's why you face resistance when trying to pray. That's why distractions come stronger during prayer. That now you know the truth. Every prayer matters. Remember what I saw. The simplest prayer made in faith causes more damage to the kingdom of darkness than you can imagine. Today, my prayer life is completely transformed. I start each day at school praying, walking through the rooms, and interceding for each desk. Will you remember that every prayer, no matter how simple or short, is a powerful weapon in the spiritual realm? The enemy wouldn't fight so hard to prevent your prayers if they weren't devastating to his kingdom. Remember my testimony. Remember what Jesus showed me. The choice is now yours. Will you pray? Will you overcome distractions? The kingdom of darkness trembles before the power of prayer. And this is a privilege given by God to you. If this testimony touched your heart, let us know and comment only. Power of prayer, to tell us that you understood the urgency of seeking God in prayer. Then share this message with someone you love, and don't stop here. Don't forget